Friends, sometimes the things that are meant to keep us safe can be the most frightening. Imagine the home you trust to protect you, the place you feel most secure, could be hiding a small, dangerous flaw that could lead to disaster. Picture a grand building shining in the London skyline, standing tall and proud, looking like a true marvel of modern engineering. At first glance, you'd think it would last forever, a symbol of post-war progress. But sometimes, it only takes a tiny thing, a small gas leak, a single spark, to bring everything crashing down. The collapse of Ronan Point in 1968 was no ordinary building failure. It was a powerful reminder that overconfidence can lead to tragedy. It taught us that ignoring the smallest details can have devastating consequences. When we rush, when we overlook the little things, disaster can strike at any moment. All because we wanted to build quickly, make it big, and save money. Sometimes what looks strong on the outside is only an illusion. We often think of buildings as solid, unbreakable things, strong because they're heavy and made of concrete and steel. We trust the frame to hold everything together. We see concrete and steel, and we believe nothing can shake it, that it will last for generations. But Ronan Point proved that this belief can be dangerously wrong. The building was just a collection of pieces joined together, like a giant house of cards assembled on the ground. If one part fails, the whole thing can collapse, because every small piece has to do its job perfectly. That's the grand illusion of strength. Sometimes it's only as strong as its weakest link. If one part fails, everything can fall apart, because the whole structure depends on every single piece working as it should. To really understand what happened at Ronan Point, we first need to look at how these large concrete buildings were constructed. Instead of building in the traditional way, these structures were assembled from huge concrete panels piece by piece. Imagine it like putting together a giant puzzle, each part carefully lifted into place. This was not the usual method of mixing concrete on site and pouring it into wooden frames. Instead, the main components, the walls, the floors, even the exterior panels, were all manufactured in a factory. These heavy concrete slabs were then transported to the construction site, with the window openings already made, ready to be installed. A large crane would lift each panel into position and carefully set it in place. Workers would then bolt the panels together and seal the joints with grout to make the structure strong. The process was efficient, very fast, and left little room for error. People believed this method would be precise and reliable. The strong wall panels were designed to support the weight of all the floors above, with each floor resting directly on the one below it. The weight was supposed to press the joints together, keeping everything tight and stable. These panels were the backbone of the building. On the morning of May 16, 1968, something unimaginable happened at Ronan Point. Ivy Hodge, a resident on the 18th floor, was simply going about her usual morning routine. She walked into her kitchen to make a cup of tea, just another ordinary start to the day. As she struck a match to light her gas stove, everything changed in an instant. A small loose brass nut on the stove allowed gas to leak. The moment the flame appeared, the gas ignited. The explosion itself wasn't especially powerful, but it was enough to create a sudden pressure the kitchen wall couldn't withstand. That force pushed the wall outward, exposing a critical weakness in the building's design. The exterior wall, which wasn't designed to carry any load, simply blew out, leaving a gaping hole. That single, small failure set off a chain reaction. Everything started to happen rapidly, like falling dominoes. Once that wall gave way, it was the first step toward the total collapse of the building's corner. The kitchen floor slab, now unsupported on one side, began to sag and lose its strength. Worse still, the blast had shifted the wall between the kitchen and living room, a wall that was supposed to carry the load above. With that support gone, the heavy concrete floor of the flat above, on the 19th floor, lost its balance. There was nothing left to hold it up. The collapse was inevitable. In a matter of seconds, everything came crashing down. There was nothing to stop it. The entire structure landed with tremendous force on the floor below. The building was never designed for such a disaster. Debris was everywhere. The scene was utter chaos. This was the second domino to fall, a devastating blow that triggered the full collapse, floor after floor. Like dominoes, each floor gave way to the next, unstoppable. The disaster spread rapidly. There was no time to react. The weight of the falling 19th floor slab combined with the one below, far too much for the next floor to bear. The 17th floor couldn't take it either. It collapsed, and the concrete gained speed as it fell. Down it went, one floor after another, momentum building with each collapse. Floor by floor, the southeast corner of the building simply disappeared, disintegrated completely. To witnesses, it looked like a giant dollhouse sliced open, rooms and their contents suddenly exposed to the world. The collapse of Ronan Point that day was a true turning point. It changed everything. That disaster sent shockwaves through the entire construction industry. It was a wake-up call for everyone. Engineers had no choice but to pay attention and take things seriously. When the official investigation began, all the flaws in the design and regulations became clear for everyone to see. The report showed that even small issues, like a gas leak, could bring down an entire building. Just one mistake, and everything could fall apart. And if a fire started, it would be a major problem. At that time, building codes didn't even consider that something like this could happen in large panel buildings. The whole situation showed that sometimes we rush into new methods without fully understanding them. After the investigation, building regulations across the UK were changed quickly. New laws required every building to be truly strong, not just in appearance. Every structure had to have backup systems just in case. Especially for tall buildings, they had to be able to withstand problems without total collapse. Now, if one small part fails, the rest of the building should still stand firm. Even if two things go wrong, the whole structure shouldn't just fall apart. The lesson from Ronan Point is now built into the rules that protect us today. Now, every designer must ask, if this part fails, what will happen? No one takes chances anymore. The story is a serious warning. If you rush or cut corners, you're inviting disaster. It reminds us that every small detail matters. Never overlook anything, even the strength of a single concrete panel. If you become too relaxed, you create your own problems. Complacency is the real architect of disaster. In the end, the story of Ronan Point is about learning from mistakes so we don't repeat them. The 4 people who died that day, their lives will not be lost in vain if we learn from what happened. Friends, every new building you see standing strong and safe with backup after backup, those extra safety measures, are lessons learned from that great disaster. All those strong connections, the way everything is joined securely, show the respect we now have for the knowledge gained from that collapse. As we try to achieve greater things in architecture, pushing boundaries further and further, building taller and more complex structures, we must never forget the lesson of Ronan Point. It reminds us that our main job is not just to create beautiful buildings, but to use wisdom and care in every step, with humility and with foresight, so that these buildings will last for our children and their children too. Ronan Point taught us that failure is not just a possibility, it is certain if we do not plan carefully. In the end, the story of Ronan Point is about learning from mistakes. The 4 lives lost that day will not be in vain if we remember the lesson that morning in London taught us. Let's not fool ourselves. Collapse is not inevitable, but only if we are willing to learn from these disasters. Remove just one panel and the whole building can come down. That's what happens when you don't have a backup plan for your structure. I'll say it again, collapse is not a certainty, but only if we are ready to learn from these mistakes.